All right, so welcome again. So our kickoff activities were all about your belief, right? And I know that Pat and I really enjoyed our one-on-one calls and spending some time to get to know you more. But we certainly have a great mix of experience and personality. You are definitely a dynamic group of women for sure. But let's now talk about our belief and how you can succeed in your Avon business. If you're great at selling Avon products and the Avon opportunity, the sky is really the limit. Avon's approach to selling is all about making connections. It's about making those connections and sharing and just really having conversations. So sounds easy, right? Well, tonight we're going to learn more about how we can create meaningful and sincere connections and sell the Avon opportunity because that's what it's all about. You guys are in a leadership development program, so I know that conversations easily start going towards the selling, but let's wrap our heads around this tonight, the conversational selling being about selling the opportunity. But keep in mind that what we talk about can all these skills. It can be not only selling the opportunity. You can use the skills that we're going to talk about to sell the products as well. All right, so here's our agenda for the module. We're going to cover the first S in BOSS, which is conversational selling. We're also going to talk about grow your business. G, meaning get to know the person and her needs, recommending the right Avon solution, offering a relatable story to demonstrate your belief. And lastly, the W is for working to establish next steps. So we're focusing on the S in BOSS, naturally, which is selling. And you might be thinking that selling the Avon opportunity is also about the O in outreach, but we're going to align the O in BOSS when we discuss planning, which is later in our program. So in the planning module, you'll actually be thinking about who you want to reach out to and how you expand your network. So this module tonight is solely focused on selling conversations and how to conduct them. So ladies, I hope you're ready. So reflect on your sales approach and your experience as a customer. So in your mind, think about your personal experiences. And would any of you admit that you have been, maybe timid or passive yourself, or if you've had the experience with a salesperson that's too timid or passive, have you had that experience, or do you think you yourself have been too timid or passive in your approach in the past? So you
I
can
can
take
say
yourself, go on.
I can say that I feel timid at times because I know when I go in a store and a salesperson is following me, that I really don't like that. So I try to not push myself too much on people because I know how I don't like, the salesperson. I like for them to just wait for if I need help to approach them. So I think I'm a little timid and passive with the sell part. Not with the
Okay.
recruiting, but the sell part.
Okay, so you're okay with the recruiting, but it's closing the deal? Is that why you think you're a little?
Well, okay, what were we talking about? Are we speaking of selling like to customers?
Yeah,
Because it's
well, no,
okay,
right now, I mean,
or
you
selling the business to someone.
sell, I mean, I certainly we'd like to talk about the recruiting side, but if you're talking about selling the product, I mean, that's okay too. But so sometimes you just feel like you're lacking there a little on the shy side. It's
Oh, okay.
certainly, it
Let me
really
look at this
pushes
more
you. This
closely.
business, this business will definitely push you outside your comfort zone, right?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm reading this more closely.
That's
Um,
okay.
okay, so timid and passive about talking to someone about the business, how great Avon is. No, I'm not. I don't feel timid or passive about that. So I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, no, that's terrific. But look, I mean, you were talking about the selling side, and that's
Yes.
okay too. That's all right. But certainly, I mean, I'm glad to hear that you don't feel timid or passive. But what I remember having an experience, and I'm sure that I'm sure that the saleswoman was like brand new, probably first day. I remember asking her a question that to me didn't seem like a difficult question, but I could see her flush like from her neck. It just like started at her chest and went like all the way up to her ears. She was I guess I'd asked her something that she had not had any training on, and she couldn't answer me and didn't even say, let me see if I can find that answer. She like just she said, oh, excuse me, and she left and never came back. And so coming into this job, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to be that person myself, you know. So
Mm.
I think that, we all tend to have those moments. Anybody else want to say anything? All right. So how about being overly aggressive? Would any of you admit that you might have been overly aggressive sometimes, or have you had an experience with a salesperson that was overly aggressive? If you don't have an example, I have an example. And actually, Gina, you were saying you don't like somebody following you around in a store, right?
Yes.
Do y'all remember years ago there was a store called Learners? Did y'all have them?
Yes.
You remember Learners? Well, we had a Learners here in Winter Haven where I live, and there was a lady that worked. We don't have a mall anymore. They demolished it, and now there's a Lowe's and other things there. This woman, I guess her sole job in Learners was to sell pantyhose. And I stopped shopping at Learners because this woman would follow you everywhere. And I mean, so from my personal experience, I don't want to be like that either. I don't want people to run away when I walk in the room because they're like, "Oh, Marie Gaynor's going to try to shove that opportunity down my throat." So certainly, you don't want to be too timid or passive, but on the other hand, you don't want to be overly aggressive, right? Because how does that make you feel when somebody's overly aggressive?
It frustrates me.
It frustrates me
It
too.
makes me feel rushed. It makes me feel rushed, and I can't take my
Exactly.
time.
Yep. Or, I know it makes me feel like they're desperate.
Yes.
Like maybe
Hmm.
they're desperate. Like maybe they make commission off of every pair of pantyhose they sell. So we have to be careful. There's got to be a good balance. So our goal in this module is to help you believe in yourself and to have the confidence to build relationships and grow your business through easy conversations. So if we accomplish our goal, your prospects will want to be part of your team, and your customers are going to be drawn to your confidence. So as you meet people and talk to people that remember every conversation is an opportunity to grow your business. It might be an opportunity to sell Avon products or sell the Avon opportunity. So the letters in GROW represent the 4 easy steps you should follow in every sales conversation. So like before, get to know the person and her needs, recommend the right Avon solution, offer relatable stories to demonstrate your belief, and then lastly, work to establish the next steps. So breaking down the conversation into small bite-sized chunks allows us to consider the importance of each step. So let's explore some more. All right, so starting with G, G is get to know the person and her needs. So it's about starting the conversation, be it with somebody you've known for a while, or maybe it was just a chance encounter with a complete stranger. And then once you get talking, you'll have to dig deeper to uncover her needs and wants. And it's really important to understand what she wants and needs so that you can help her see how the Avon solution can help her later on. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Pat.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for my voice tonight. Like Marie said, we're battling these summer head colds. I haven't had one in years, and neither has Marie, but here we are. So, really, we think about talking to people that we know or running into people that we know, but there are opportunities that cross our path every day, and it gives us a chance to start conversations with people that we don't know. And we call these chance encounters. Um, you know, have any of you had a chance encounter? Like when and where was that lately? Anyone? Just able to start a conversation somewhere with a total stranger? No?
So Mary Ellen just texted me. She can't get off. She's at work. But
Right.
she said she had a chance encounter after our event Saturday when she went out to lunch.
Okay, great. But yeah, I mean, I've had conversations in line at Starbucks. Someone would see a piece of jewelry I was wearing and ask me about it. And we would just start talking. Now, I'm not standing there, trying to sell this person on the opportunity in 5 minutes or less. But it is a chance encounter. It's a chance to actually gather information. Um, so, there are places that we, might experience these chance encounters. And it could be things like a friend's birthday party. Some people it's happy hour, or it's at a department store or grocery store checkout line. Sometimes events in neighborhoods, businesses that have waiting areas, doctors, dentists. A lot of times people will strike up conversations, and different places in your community. And so, as uncomfortable as this, can feel, you have to consider something, and probably just these two facts, okay? You'll probably never see the person again in your life. And when you believe in yourself and your mission, you're there to bring an opportunity to someone who may really, really need it. And when you can put yourself into that mindset, that way of thinking, it really helps you connect with people during these chance encounters. And you need to use, conversation starters to make these new connections. So it's important to have an easy way of starting a conversation. And we have a couple good options. The first option is to find common ground and ask an open-ended question to get her talking. And let me stress that an open-ended question means a question that will draw out some information, not just a yes or a no. Okay? So if you're in a long line at the grocery store, I don't know if I would say, wow, this grocery line is so long. Who has time for this? But, phrase it, be natural, always be yourself. Compliments work wonderful, but always make sure that they're true. Don't be ever phony. For example, what if you were kind of at a PTA meeting or something and you're next to someone that you don't know? What might you think of to drum up a conversation? Anyone?
What grade is your child in? Do you have a child?
Mm.
Or, yeah, that I guess attends what, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. They obviously, they're there, same reason you are, and finding out more about that. And, and then, some people would say, like, I have 3 kids. I've been with the PTA for a long time. How long have you been with the PTA? And then the person might answer. And then you might say something like, life is a juggling act. How do you manage everything? Because I think I hear more and more from parents these days that there is so much going on, okay? And I was saying about, another option is to compliment someone, but always remember, be sincere when you're doing it. And you never want to make anyone feel uncomfortable, of course. So I think that those two examples are just the beginning, because it depends where you are, what you're doing, what's going on, but gearing that conversation to that person and really listening. People can tell when you're interested and when you're listening. And it's also a good idea to catch some compliments about the Avon products. As I was saying, a lot of times, I think I was talking to Gina about this, and about just wearing things and being seen in these things. And so you wear the Avon clothes and accessories and makeup. And when someone does compliment you, it gives you a reason to talk about Avon. And even if it's not related to Avon, you can ask open-ended questions to kind of keep that conversation going and learn more about that person. As I said, people know when you're interested. So you want to be interested, not interesting. And so, you know, in all our conversations, whether they're with people that we just met or people we already know, it's important to ask these open-ended questions to get to know their needs and their wants. And by knowing what's important to a person, you're able to share how the Avon opportunity could make a difference in their life. And, you know, I think when you come up with open-ended questions, I know it's not easy, but you know, that's why it's a good way to develop a list of open-ended questions using why, what, how, who, when, or tell me more. Because when you say to someone, tell me more, you bet they know you're interested. So, how is your job going? Tell me about what you do. How do you do it? Again, back to that, managing family and a career, the big one. What do you think is the hardest part of staying home with your kids? We know that we talk to a lot of young moms. Or if you could change your situation, what would you change? Why do you like to volunteer with the PTA so much? So you can see we're using the how, why, tell me more. And people like the conversation to be about them. It makes them feel good and cared for. And you make that person that you're talking to feel good about you. And you start building that relationship when you're acting interested. So you want to dig deeper, of course. And once you've asked a really good open-ended question, it's important to find out what really matters most. And we call this listening with questions. So here are some examples of follow-up questions, actually, that you can use to dig a little deeper. If you found out that someone really wants to make new friends, you could dig deeper by asking, why is making new friends important to you? If you found that that person wanted and needed more flexibility, you'd say, you know, what would having more flexibility mean to you? And let them tell you. What would that mean to them? And of course, the big one. People need more money all the time. And if that's what that person's telling you, what would more money mean to you and your family? And you just use these to dig deeper. Can you think of another question maybe that you could ask a person to dig a little deeper? Well, I have one here. How would blank change your life? It could be, how would working for yourself change your life? If you're in that conversation, they need money. How would an extra $300 to $500 a month change your life? So follow me. When you're doing it, you're asking a question. How would something blank change your life? So then I guess really we want to start the conversation.
All right, Pat.
All right. Do you want to be Sally or Sarah?
How about I'll be Sarah. I'll be Sarah Sarah's on the right, Sally, the Avon representative, is on the left. How about that?
Okay. Hi, Sarah. Happy Friday. I'm so glad we could connect for coffee.
Me too. That spin class is awesome. We have so much fun. It is a great stress release.
I'm with you. I feel great after every class. Did I hear you say that you have 3 kids, one of which is in college? I have only one little guy, and I feel like I can hardly keep my head above water.
Yes, that's right. I also have a crazy dog, and my two boys are on a traveling soccer team. I spend my weekends schlepping them all over the place.
I don't envy you there. What else causes you stress?
Oh gosh, I work from home as a book editor. I spend my days on the computer with very little interaction. I need to connect with a human over the age of 14.
I get it. If you could create the life you dream about, what would that life look like?
I would have less stress, I would have lots of friends to hang out with, and I would have plenty of money to help pay for my daughter's college and travel. I love experiencing new places.
So what do you think? How did that conversation sound? Anyone?
Very easy. It was, if you learned something about each other, and it made, I think it made each you and, well, Sally and Sarah comfortable to just the conversation just flowed and was easier, and it's
Hmm. Yeah. And it was the start of really to get to know each other. You got it right. That's
yes.
exactly right. And that's the whole idea. So then where we go from there is, of course, let's hear how it sounds to, dig a little deeper. So, Sarah, why do you feel being connected and having friends are important for you now?
Since my divorce, I have felt so isolated. We had to move to a new area, and I have not felt up to finding new friends.
I totally understand. I am divorced and I felt that same way when I went through it. You mentioned you would love to have more money to help pay for college and travel more. What would it mean to you if you had more money for these things?
Well, first, I would feel relieved that my daughter will not graduate from college with a ton of debt. I don't want her to have that level of stress at such a young age. Also, by having more money to travel, I could fulfill my lifelong dream of visiting Europe.
So that's what it sounds like when we're digging a little deeper. And of course, how can this information help Sally sell Sarah the Avon opportunity? I think by getting to know her and what really is important to her. We found out, she definitely has things in mind. She wants to travel. She doesn't want her daughter having debt. So I think that helps Sally be able to share with Sarah how the Avon opportunity could help her more specifically, more focused. How do you think Sarah was feeling during this conversation? Anyone? I think that she felt that Sally was interested.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, with those questions where you were digging deeper,
Yeah,
I feel like that, she was actually showing like an interest, like she cared about her, so that she was interested in her, and then she also cared about her. And by actually sharing her story as well, that she understood that she's divorced and felt the same way. So it's always good to be able to reflect on your own experience, and to be relatable to that person. So I think that she did a really good job.
I think so too. And I want to say that, taking this one step further, we have something called the Southeast Plan that we talk about. And that's when you're talking to someone and you're asking them how much they would need to earn to kind of make it worthwhile. Hearing what Sarah needs, this is an opportunity for Sally to go in that direction as well. Because when she kind of gets an idea how much Sarah's looking for, it can actually help her introduce this business. So I'm tacking that on to this conversation because that was definitely opening the door to have that conversation. So, okay, I'm going to turn it back over
Yep.
to Marie right now.
Awesome. So R is all about recommending the right Avon solution, and we all know that selling the Avon opportunity is the right solution. So if you are selling products, it's important to determine what solution is right for the customer based on our needs. So I think we all have those conversations all the time, right? We're always asking, about their skincare, what are they looking for, even like in makeup, what colors do they tend to use more of, and so we're always asking and digging deeper when we're selling the product, but I think that a lot of times we're not doing it in the selling conversation with the opportunity. So we're going to talk to you about the 3 C's when recommending the right Avon solution. All right, so every time you recommend the right Avon solution, follow these 3 C's and you can't go wrong. Number one, clarify her needs and wants. Number two, communicate the right Avon solution. Like we said, the Avon opportunity is the right solution when recruiting. And then help her connect the dots. Show how the solution meets her needs and her wants. So you can see that you can't do these steps unless you get to know her needs and wants, which is the G in grow. And make sure you spend time to get to know her before you try to recommend the Avon opportunity. So don't be overly aggressive because that might turn her off. So get to know her first. All right, so let's talk about the first C, which is clarify her needs and wants. You might be wondering why you need to do this because, didn't you just reveal this in the conversation or the last time you talked with her? But believe it or not, this step is really important. If you don't clarify her needs and wants before you recommend the solutions, you might, you just need to make sure you really understand it, right? You cannot assume anything and possibly identify additional needs and wants. So make sure her needs and wants have not changed since your last conversation. And when you do this, she's going to feel heard. Like when you clarify everything by asking her questions, she's going to realize that you're hearing what she has to say. So you might be repeating things, like you might say, so you have told me that, you need more flexibility in your day, and that the job that that job that you're doing right now, that you don't necessarily want to leave it now, but that you would look in the future as you build an Avon business that could give you more flexibility, that you might leave your other job. So what you just have to repeat and clarify the things that she's told you so that she feels heard. All right, so once you confirm her needs and wants, you can share the solution and how it's going to help her. So here we have an example of some verbiage that you can use as a structure for your recommendation. And just remember, this is just a structure, so obviously your words are going to be more casual, but you might say something like this. So I'm going to use a structure where it says, given your blank, I recommend blank, which will blank. Okay, so given your need to pay for starting in the spring, I recommend you starting your own Avon business now, which will give you several months to build a successful customer base and team by the time your daughter starts school in the spring. All right, so you're clarifying everything. So you're saying, given your need to pay for childcare with a time frame starting in the spring, I recommend that you start your Avon business now, which is going to give you time to build your successful customer base and team and that way it's going to get her to her goal, right? So her benefits. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, Pat, so let's start this again. Patricia.
Sorry, I was muted. It sounds like you would love to connect with some new people and make some extra money to help pay for your daughter's college and travel. Is that right?
Yes, I would love to do that.
You should join my team as an Avon representative. You can make new friends and be part of a great group of women. The ladies on my team are fabulous. Everyone supports each other and has a lot of fun. You would love them. As a rep for Avon, you can also earn extra money for your daughter's college and for cool trips. You can help her avoid stress when she graduates, and you can take that dream trip to Europe. Who doesn't want to have fun with friends and make money at the same time?
So perfect. I mean, she like just wrapped it all up in a fuzzy little ball. And I don't know about you, but I'm like ready to start this business, right? All right, Pat, turning it back over to you.
Okay. Well, what is this O all about? Okay.
Yep.
Once you recommended the solution, it's important to offer relatable stories, okay, that are going to demonstrate your belief. That's the O. It's really important to relate to the person so that you can build a trusted relationship. And by sharing a story or two, you can help her see how the solution has impacted you and others, because stories really illustrate how solutions can make a difference for her. And I think, when you're sharing your belief and telling your story, you want to do it in a relatable way, of course. But the most important story you have is your own. Remember in the kickoff, we talked, you created your belief using the 4 chambers of the heart. These are the elements of your story. And you should be using those to share how the Avon opportunity has impacted you and your life in a positive way. And when you're talking to a person that you're offering this opportunity to, make sure, you're relating to her when you're telling your story. You want her to say, wow, you're a lot like me. And joining Avon's made a great impact on your life. And, maybe I really should try it. And because you want to be relatable. But remember, if you know someone else whose story relates more to that person, that's your prospect, share it too. It never hurts to relay more than one story about how the Avon opportunity has changed someone's life. So this is an example of another story. So, let me tell you what's worked for me and others like you. I totally understand how you feel when you say you need to connect with new friends. When my son went to kindergarten, I was totally lost. My whole life had revolved around him and his needs, and I had very few friends. That's when I found Avon. Avon gives me a reason to connect with new people, and it gives me something new to talk about beyond my son and his needs. I love it. I have made so many new friends. Then, sharing another relatable. You remind me a lot of Suzanne. Suzanne is my sister-in-law. She pulled me aside a few years ago and was interested in learning more about Avon. Every year, Suzanne takes a trip with her girlfriends. My brother always complains because they really can't afford it. Suzanne refuses to give up her girl time, so she was looking for something to help her pay for the trips herself. She found that Avon gave her the opportunity to not only pay for the trips, but to also have more girl time with new friends. I really believe that Avon might be the right opportunity for you. And I think that just shows you that there's usually someone on your team or someone that has a story that everyone can relate to. So we're talking now about the W, okay? Because once you talk, through GR and O, you need to work to establish the next step, and that is W. So you're working to establish the next step. It's important to always ask the prospect to join your team and then establish the next steps based on how that person responds to you. But you always want to ask her to join your team. If you truly get to know her needs and you recommend the right solution and offer relatable stories, to demonstrate your own belief, you can feel really confident when you're asking that person to join your team. But you have to be sure that you always ask. It's a very important step. There are a lot of ways, you can ask a prospect, of course, to join your team. And these are just some examples on the slide. It's most important that you find the words that you're comfortable with and make it easy. You know, it depends who you're talking to. You'll be able to read the people. No, why don't we get you started today? Honestly, I would love to have you join my team. How can we make it happen? What additional information do you need to get started? What additional information, if any, can I provide to help you determine if the Avon opportunity is right for you? Again, put this in your own words. Could anyone tell me another way maybe to ask someone to join your team? Something you might have said to someone?
I've said to someone, I love your personality. You would make a great Avon representative, and I would like for you to join my team.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
usually if I notice like if something they're wearing or if their makeup or something like that, then I'll also just the conversation be around about how their appearance or something that they're doing. If I notice that they're good at something, so
Terrific.
usually.
And isn't it true when you do meet people with a personality that you think would mesh well with your team? It's so great, isn't it?
Yes.
And then you get to
Yes.
know them, and they become part of the fun, and everyone has fun. I was seeing that on Saturday at our event, especially Linda and Gina, where you were, and Marion, you were sitting there with people. It was just nice to see everyone getting along, having fun, and the great personalities. So definitely. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Marie now so that you can be prepared for every outcome, because that's the most important thing. Being prepared.
Fantastic. So knowing that you will always ask prospects to join your team at the end of your grow conversations, you need to be prepared for every outcome, right? So what will you do if she says yes? What will you do if she says she's not sure, maybe? And how are you going to handle it if she presents some obstacles to joining your team? So if you hear yes, you have to have a plan to get her started. So remember, first impressions make a real difference. She's more likely to stick with you if she has a very positive onboarding experience, right? If you give her a plan and clear steps for her to get started. So, what if she's not sure and says maybe? What do you say when this happens? Does anybody have any thoughts on this? I think the maybe question's the hardest. I mean, it's if it's a yes or no, it seems like everybody has thoughts on that, but it's, if they're not sure, they might say, "Oh, I've got to talk to my husband about it. I'm not sure." I mean, what are the things you might say? Okay, so you might connect her with a member on your team that's similar to her. Maybe she'd be more interested in talking to somebody else. Maybe you don't feel like you were relatable to her. Like I know that I'm in my 60s, so as I'm prospecting and I'm talking to somebody that's 20 something, they may not relate to me. So if I can see somebody faltering on that, might say, I'm going to connect you with my daughter. My daughter is younger and more hip than I, so, it could be that you could connect her with a team member that you feel is more similar to her. Or you could even maybe ask her to attend a meeting, like having people come to this rally this past Saturday. I mean, we had somebody sign up on the spot, right? So, there are things that you could do that might help her. And then what about obstacles? If you hear an obstacle or an objection from a prospect, and what kind of things do you think you could do or say to help?
Ask them to attend an Avon meeting with me as my guest, and no pressure, just listen. Just listen.
That would be good. Good. And of course, we have to clarify what the objection is. Like starting to ask questions, ask open-ended questions, and dig deeper. Try to understand, why is it an obstacle? What's driving it? Because I think once you understand more, about their concerns, it's easier to construct a response with additional stories. And to your point, inviting them maybe to come to an opportunity meeting or to a rally, certainly, it depends on what their objection is. But remember, if their objection's very strong, it's okay to move on. Continue the relationship with that person, maybe focus on just having them be your customer, selling them products instead of the Avon opportunity, because you never know what's going to happen in the future, right? So if you hear no, then that's fine. You can take the opportunity from that person to get a referral. Maybe the person knows someone who might be interested in starting an Avon business. And don't forget that that person could also be a potential customer. So ask her some questions that will lead to a potential product sale. There are other opportunities like our fundraising. So certainly, whether the person's just giving you, an objection or a solid no, it's just better to find out more about that person. Ask her some questions that might lead her to other things that we might be able to help her with, whether it's her being a customer, or her, maybe directing us into a fundraiser. Maybe she's part of an organization that you can conduct a fundraiser with. But finally, you need to stay connected and be sure to connect with that person on social media. Get her connected to your Facebook page right away. It's just really important because that person might change her mind in the future, and she may want to refer someone else to you in the future. So hopefully she'll be a customer, and who knows, maybe in the future she'll either refer people to you or change her mind and join your team. So no matter what the outcome is, it's important that you establish a tangible next step. And based on the person's level of interest, recommend a next step that feels appropriate. So for example, if they're second guessing, you could say something like, well, it feels like you're still, on the fence over this. Why don't you sleep on it? Think about any potential concerns or questions, and I'll connect with you in 2 days. So today's Tuesday. I'll connect with you on Thursday. So, but set that time expectation, because by setting that expectation that you'll be calling them back in 2 days, it's not going to come as a surprise when you actually do call them back, and they'll appreciate that. And then be accommodating. Increase the likelihood of a response by being respectful of their preferred communication style. So it's important to find out, do they want you to call them on their cell phone? Do they just want you to email them? Do they want you to connect with them on Facebook and use Messenger, or do they just want you to text them? So find out, how they want you to communicate with them, and then be accommodating. So get her phone number, her email address, connect on Facebook right away. And then highlight a roadmap of next steps. So this is going to show her that this isn't your first rodeo, that you do this all the time, and that you're able to offer her a very valuable experience based on her level of interest. So it's like dipping your toe in the water, if you will. And then selling the Avon opportunity is not always a one-time event. So studies have shown it typically takes up to 8 contacts before a sale is made. So a follow-up phone call, a text, email, is just going to keep your business healthy and growing. So don't ever toss away any leads that you have. Continue to work those. All right, so Pat, we're going to get busy again here. So let's hear an example of W, which is working to identify the next steps.
It feels like you're still mulling this over. Why don't you sleep on it? Think about any potential concerns or questions, and we can connect again in 2 days. How do you prefer to be contacted?
I prefer text or phone.
Fantastic. Let me add you now. When we connect later this week, we can determine if you think it would be worthwhile to grab coffee with Kelsey. She's fantastic and reminds me of you. We could also have you attend our team meeting if you'd like that.
Great. Talk to you soon. All right, so how do you guys feel like that? How did that sound?
Good. And I'm gonna go back to the team meeting. Definitely, I feel like it motivates. It motivates me. It motivates people to join. So I definitely think inviting someone to the team meetings, because you get to see other women that are successful with the Avon, and it's just
I
can't
think it's
explain it.
great. No,
Yes.
and not only getting them to the meeting gets them in a group where they could actually see interactions and
Yes.
see if they want to be part of something like that. But it
Correct.
depends on what's going on at the meeting. They might see
Hmm.
product and be, even more interested once they see the product. So I mean, I think it's great, and I don't know. I think that most
And you have a
people,
chance to introduce them to other people,
right,
representative
right,
there,
right,
um, and they can make a connection with
yep,
someone else. So,
right. We live in a society nowadays where everything is so automated. So getting
hmm,
people with other people, I think, is terrific.
yes, yes.
There are some days that, I'm like stuck in my office and only talking to people on the phone, and I almost get giddy, like if I have to go to the store. It's like, oh, I'm going to be in a store around humans that I can see face to face. I love it. But I think we all need that. And I love the idea of taking, bringing somebody and encourage somebody to come to a meeting. So thank you for sharing that. So similar to when we set SMART goals, remember we talked about that? It's important to be specific when you establish next steps. So the prospect's really going to feel appreciative, when they have the clarity and actually, know that you're putting a lot of effort into helping her. Okay, so the fortune is definitely in the follow up. So all of your effort to identify next step will be for naught if you do not follow up. So good follow up shows respect and professionalism. So how do you feel when someone doesn't follow up or follow through on their commitments? I know how it makes me feel. It
Not
feels like,
important.
right, yeah, it's like, gosh, I guess I wasn't important enough. She said she was gonna call me in 2 days and she never did. So, what the heck? I'm not gonna join her team if she calls me a week later. So, yeah, so make sure you follow up and consider that there are a few follow-up fails to ensure that you avoid the missteps. So not following up at all, right? So let's talk about the fails. Not following up at all. We don't want to do that, and I know that it happens. I mean, I hear it a lot where representatives, leaders are working events and they're so excited they get 50, 60, 100 leads. And then months later is like, hey, how did that go? Oh my God, I forgot to call all those people or I misplaced all those leads. So not following up at all. I mean, assuming, that you are the only thing your buyer thinks about in a day is rather naive, right? So there are no pickup, drop off scheduled to consider, grocery list to create, the birthday parties to plan. I mean, checking in with your prospect is not only appreciated, but appropriate to remain top of mind. And then connecting through Twitter when they requested a text, right? So, like before, we want to find out how they want to be communicated. And if they say, they want to be texted, send them a text. If they said they wanted to be connected on Facebook, then connect with them on Facebook. So make sure you're clear on the preferred methods of communication, especially when you're just starting your relationship with them and starting to build that trust. Um, Not offering any value. People are busy. Don't waste an opportunity. If you get them on the phone, have something of value to offer, right? So don't waste an opportunity when you finally are able to connect. And then consider the next step roadmap that you created. So these steps can be used as follow-up offers that will keep that train moving forward. Then not adjusting your plan. You can't be rigid in this business. You can't do it. You have to be flexible. Everyone is different. They want different things for different reasons at different times, and having a plan is good, but having only one plan can sometimes steer you wrong. So just make sure that you're flexible, and then an infinity of follow up. Sometimes you just have to cut your losses. Sometimes um, you're just calling somebody or texting them or however they ask you to communicate with them. If you can't get in touch with them, just forget it. I mean, there comes to a point where you just need to, ask, are you in or you're out? And I know that some of you've had that experience where, let's just say they said, oh yeah, you can call me. Call me on Wednesday is the best day to call me. You call them on Wednesday, they answer their phone like, oh, I can't talk now. I'm really busy. Can you call me back next week? So you call next Wednesday and they don't answer. And then you call the following Wednesday and they answer. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of something. I'll call you back. Just cut that loss and just move on to the next person, right? So sometimes you have to cut your losses to focus on the prospects that may actually turn into high performing team members. So just don't keep doing that. All right. Back to you, Pat.
Okay, thank you. And I like what Marie just said about cutting your losses. Every minute you spend with someone who would do that to you is a minute you're losing with a person who really wants to talk to you. And, I know how we know that we are the most helpful people, I think, in Avon, always wanting to help everyone and see everyone do well. But that was some of the best advice I think that I've heard, because I know that we can't keep doing that. We need to move on. And you need to say next. Just remember, no doesn't mean never. And it's okay to say next. And so then when you're growing your business like a boss, after practicing your conversations with a lot of people, you sit back, you look, and then you start to realize it starts to feel more natural, more sincere. You'll notice that the people you're talking to are more at ease. They're kind of leaning in, nodding their head into your conversations. And you'll get that 15 plus minutes of information being shared with you. And they'll be eager to set up the next steps and will appreciate, your follow-up. And it's okay. I like this. It's okay to fake it till you make it. Practice, practice, practice. That's all it takes is lots of practice. So your application guide this week basically is talking about growing your business. By completing the guide, you're going to prepare for your future conversations focused on really, offering the Avon opportunity. That's what this is about. It's not really about selling products. This particular thing, we are, leadership development. We are coaching you for leadership development. But a lot of these things apply to sales of product as well. But for this application guide, really focus on the opportunity. Basically, you're going to go through listing maybe a chance encounter, when you complimented someone, asking open-ended questions. There are two places there: finding common ground, asking another open-ended question. And I think, this is plan open-ended questions to get her talking. And like we told you, why, what, how, who, when, tell me more. Come up with some additional needs. Here somebody wants more money, new friends, flexibility. What might be some other things you've heard in conversations that you've had with people as you're building your teams? What have they told you that they needed? And I think that that's really important, that we really understand what brings a person to us. What are their needs? And then, of course, be sure to listen with questions. I think that that's important. And on number 4 there, add a question. Something that you may have asked someone when you were out recruiting. And then growing your business, offering, the right solution. And think about someone maybe that you've been talking to or that you want to talk to, and just fill this out. Fill it out with their name of the potential person. Again, having that conversation so that you could find out what their needs are or their wants. And then offering the relatable stories that we talked about. You read this thing about Joni, and then it says, what would you say to Joni? to share your story and go back to your belief on your kickoff application. And you can write down the words you actually used on there, some of your reasons why you have an Avon business or how it makes you feel. And then write down 2 options for how you might ask someone to join. And I think we did cover that. We were talking about it. And I like Gina's about you have a great personality. So just think about what you might ask someone or how you might say it. And 2 more steps that you might recommend if she's not sure that it's right for her. And I think that, I've seen people come into Avon months after. And a lot of times the people who said no to the opportunity became very strong customers. And then all of a sudden it was the right time. Timing is everything in life. And some people have things going on. It's not the right time. So, keeping in touch. And if they're responding to you and they seem to appreciate that you keep in touch, why not? It might take a little longer. And practice your conversational selling in the next 2 weeks with 2 people or chance encounters. And that's the application guide for our next one-on-one. And we'll be talking to you about that, and setting it up. And it'll work out just fine because I know that you guys know what you're doing.
Pat, I'd like to put
Go ahead.
something in here. So this application guide is probably one of the more difficult ones that you're going to be doing in this whole program. So don't wait till the last minute to start working on it. And we do a little bit of role play, and I promise that it will make it easy on you.
Yeah.
But not only is it going to take a little more time to fill out, but it's probably it's my favorite of all the modules because I think that you get more out of this particular module than all the rest as you start to practice the things that we're talking about. And the application guide is going to really stretch you to think of the things that it could be saying, you may be saying, you might eventually say. So, just don't wait till the weekend to start working on it. So I'd say start this week, next weekend, finish it up and tweak it, before you send it off to us for our one-on-one.
Thanks, Marie. Yeah, it's important because, when you think about the people in Avon who seem to be these leaders who just get people on their teams, think about what are they doing? How are they approaching people? I can tell you for sure, we have a leader here who, Gina and Linda are in that group. That leader does not even bring up the word Avon when she's first speaking to someone. She's truly getting to know something about that person, and the word Avon doesn't come up until later. And it really is effective. So just think of someone maybe that you see as a mentor or a role model, and think about what they say and how they are. And then for the collaboration call next Thursday, a week from this Thursday, the question for that night is, who is the most interesting person you know and why? So you have time to think about that. And, put a little thought into this. Who do you think's interesting? And why are they interesting? And then, of course, make sure that you use the 4 simple steps in Grow. Try to actually memorize this, prepare, practice, and the Grow will help you grow your Avon business. So that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Marie, do you have anything to add?
Nothing at all. So glad that you guys were able to join us.
Yes, thank you guys. I know we've all had long weekends.
So, excuse me, is this the slide that you showed this evening, is it going to be sent to us?
You mean the whole PowerPoint?
The slides. Yeah, the PowerPoint.
Well, yeah, Marie's recording it. We could send it to you. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I can send you the recording. We can't send you the PowerPoint though, but we'll send the recording.
Recording.
Okay.
And that way you can fast forward through the things that you don't want to hear
Right.
again. So yeah,
There
well,
is a, I
uh-huh.
thought there was a way to take pictures of the screens on here, but maybe I was
No, she could send you
something
the
else.
recording and you could see the slides.
Oh, okay.
Right, definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
It'll be tomorrow, Pat. I'll send it. It takes a while for it to convert overnight.
Bird. Yeah, we'll
Okay.
get it to you. Yeah, everyone. And we'll get it to all of you.